Yazata is the Avestan language word for Zoroastrian concept with a wide range of meanings but generally signifying, or used as an epithet of, a divinity. The term literally means worthy of worship or veneration, and is thus, in this more general sense, also applied to certain healing plants, primordial creatures, the fravashis of the dead, and to certain prayers that are themselves considered holy. The yazatas collectively are the good powers under Ohrmuzd, who is the greatest of the yazatas. Etymology: Yazata is an Avestan language passive adjectival participle derived from yaz, to worship, to honor, to venerate. The word yasna, worship, sacrifice, oblation, prayer, comes from the same root. A yaza plus ta is accordingly a being worthy of worship, an object of worship or a holy being. As the stem form, yazata has the inflected nominative forms yazato, pl. Yazataho. These forms reflect Proto-Iranian yazata and pl. Yazatiha. In Middle Persian the term became yazad or yazd, pl. Yazdan, continuing in New Persian as Izad. Related terms in other languages are Sanskrit yajati, he worships, he sacrifices, yajata worthy of worship, holy, yajna sacrifice, and perhaps one, also Greek hagios devoted to the gods, sacred, holy. In scripture, the term yazata is already used in the Gathas, the oldest texts of Zoroastrianism and believed to have been composed by Zoroaster himself. In these hymns, yazata is used as a generic, applied to Ohrmuzd as well as to the divine sparks, that in later tradition are the Amshwaspentas. In the Gathas, the yazatas are effectively what the devas are not, that is, the yazatas are to be worshipped while the devas are to be rejected. The Gathas also collectively invoke the yazatas without providing a clue as to which entities are being invoked, and, given the structure and language of the hymns, it is generally not possible to determine whether these yazatas are abstract concepts or are manifest entities. Amongst the lesser yazatas being invoked by name by the poet of the Gathas are Srosha, Ashi, Jushtashan, Jushurvn, Tushnamati, and Is, and all of which when mentioned in his hymns, it seems, because of their close association with rituals of sacrifice and worship. In the younger Avesta, the yazatas are unambiguously divine, with divine powers but performing mundane tasks such as serving as charioteers for other yazatas. Several yazatas are given anthropomorphic attributes, such as cradling a mace or bearing a crown upon their heads, or not letting sleep interrupt their vigil against the demons. At some point during the late 5th or early 4th century BCE, the Ohrmuzd instituted a religious calendar in which each day of the month was named after, and placed under the protection of, a particular yazata. These day-name dedications were not only of religious significance because they ensured that those divinities remained in the public consciousness, they also established a hierarchy among the yazatas, with specific exalted entities having key positions in the day-name dedications. See Zoroastrian calendar for details. Although these day-name dedications are mirrored in scripture, it cannot be determined whether these day-name assignments were provoked by an antecedent list in scripture, for example Yasna 16, or whether the day-name dedications provoked the compilation of such lists. Relatively certain however is that the day-name dedications predate the Avestas Sarosa, 30 days, which contain explicit references to the yazatas as protectors, guardians of their respective days of the month. In tradition, the 9th–12th century texts of Zoroastrian tradition observe the yazatas, by then as Middle Persian yazads, in much the same way as the hymns of the younger Avesta. In addition, In roles that are only alluded to in scripture, they assume characteristics of cosmological or eschatological consequence. For instance, Aradvisura Anahita, Ardvijurnahid, is both the divinity of the waters as well as a rushing world river that encircles the earth, which is blocked up by Angramaniu, Arman, thus causing drought. The blockage is removed by Varathragna, Vairam, and Tishtria, gathers up the waters and spreads them over the earth, Zam, as rain. In stories with eschatological significance, Srosha, Sarash, Mithra, Myr, and Rashanu, Rashan, are guardians of the Chanvat bridge, the bridge of the separator, across which all souls must pass. Further, what the calendrical dedications had begun, the tradition completed. At the top of the hierarchy was Ohrmuzd, who was supported by the great heptad of Amshaspantas, Amshaspans/Mraspans, through which the Creator created with his thought, the manifest universe. The Amshaspantas in turn had Hamkar's assistants or cooperators, each a caretaker of one facet of creation. In both tradition and scripture, the terms Amshaspanta and Yazata are sometimes used interchangeably. In general, however, Amshaspanta signifies the 6 great divine sparks. In tradition, Yazata is the first of the 101 epithets of Ohrmuzd. The word also came to be applied to Zoroaster, but Zoroastrians to this day remain sharply critical of any attempts to deify the prophet. In a hierarchy that does not include either Ohrmuzd or the Amshaspantas amongst the yazatas, the most prominent amongst those worthy of worship is Mithra, who is second only in dignity to Ohrmuzd, that is Ohrmuzd, himself. In the present day, in the 1860s and 1870s, the linguist Martin Hogg interpreted Zoroastrian scripture in Christian terms, and compared the yazatas to the angels of Christianity. In this scheme, the Amshaspantas are the archangel retinue of Ohrmuzd, with the Hamkars as the supporting host of lesser angels. At the time Hogg wrote his translations, the Parsi, that is Indian Zoroastrian, community was under intense pressure from English and American missionaries, who severely criticized the Zoroastrians for, as John Wilson portrayed it in 1843, polytheism, which the missionaries argued was much less worth than their own monotheism. At the time, Zoroastrianism lacked theologians of its own, and so the Zoroastrians were poorly equipped to make their own case. In this situation, Hogg's counterinterpretation came as a welcome relief, and was, by and large, gratefully accepted as legitimate. Hogg's interpretations were subsequently disseminated as Zoroastrian ones, which then eventually reached the West where they were seen to corroborate Hogg. Like most of Hogg's interpretations, this comparison is today so well entrenched that the gloss of Yazata as angel is almost universally accepted, both in publications intended for a general audience as well as in non-philological, academic literature. Amongst the Muslims of Islamic Iran, Srosha came to be arguably the most popular of all the subordinate yazatas, for as the angel Surash, only he, of the entire Zoroastrian pantheon, is still venerated by name.